In this session, we're going to look at two questions. Why do you need primary keys and how do you identify them? Let's straight away go to our dataset and try answering these questions. This is my customer's dataset. When I look at this dataset, I see all these columns which we have already identified as facts or dimensions. And we have also understood that a tabular structure is divided into a number of records. This is one record, this is one record, this is one record. So if I click on top of this column, I can see there are 438. I'll exclude the header. 438 records. So should I say there are 438 customers in my system? What if the count is incorrect? In what scenarios it will be incorrect? Is it that we have the same customer information repeating? If it repeats, it's a problem. We are not reporting the accurate number of customers. So how do you ensure that each record in your data set is uniquely identifiable? It's important. How do I, if I have to pull out the city of Ken Black? So this Ken Black, if you see, which is customer name, I can have many Ken Blacks, right? There is no restriction on that one customer is Ken Black, another customer cannot be. So this customer name, this value, it cannot be unique. It can change. It can be the same for multiple customers. So this column cannot be used to uniquely identify this data set. How about segment? It's quite obvious the values are repeating, and any one of them. So one of the candidates of for identifying this data set uniquely could be customer email. Every customer has the same has unique email, right? No two customers can share the same email. So customer email could be a worthy column for determining the primary key or the uniqueness of this data set, right? So in general, whenever we got some data set, we look for columns which could uniquely identify, and most of the times a column called customer ID or order ID or transaction ID, these kind of columns are the ones which have a key which uniquely identifies a customer. So even if there are more than one Ken Blacks in the system, they will be identified by different customer IDs. And secondly, primary keys or the keys which need to determine the uniqueness of this data set cannot be blank, right? Because the key has to be unique, it cannot be blank. Blank is not unique. So first condition is it cannot be blank. Second condition is it should be unique. That's how we determine a primary key. So you have 438 records. How do you practically go ahead and determine whether this column is unique or not? It should be, but whether it is unique or not. One of the simplest ways to do is just select that column, go to conditional formatting, highlight cell rules, duplicate values, and say OK. And ensure that this column is sorted. You should be finding out the culprits. So let me go ahead and sort this up. And you see that this customer is appearing twice, this customer is appearing thrice, twice. So all these areas where you see these red marks, these are all examples of duplication in data. And you see there are many cases of duplication in our data set. So the challenge is, how do you remove those duplicates? Well, in Excel, one of the ways would be the most crude ones is that you just keep one of the records and keep removing the other ones. For example, I select this one, this one, this one, then this one, then this one, right click, delete. I could do it, but do you think this is the most elegant way of getting rid of duplicate records? Obviously no. There are better ways, and we will explore them in the future. For now, this knowledge would be enough for you to identify primary keys. Although there is one more scenario which you should keep in mind. What if one column is not sufficient enough to determine the primary key. For example, let me go to transaction dataset. Here, if we see that order ID is determining the primary key, I am wrong because I see there are duplicate records. If I say product ID is determining a primary key, let me check. I can again see duplications. So there are duplications in order ID, there are duplications in product ID. Do they, none of them actually are candidates for primary key. So in the scenarios when no single column in itself is capable of determining the uniqueness of these data sets, we start looking at combining more than one columns to check if uniqueness could be determined. And if you think business, in retail business, a transaction means a product purchased as a part of an order. So this product which is purchased by under this order, the same product cannot be purchased again within the same order. If there are two quantities of this product is purchased, then you will find this quantity column changing. You will not have two entries of the combination of order ID and product ID. Does that make sense? So how do you determine the uniqueness? It needs to be starting with your business understanding. If that is clear, you can figure out which columns should I combine. And in retail business, in a given order, there will always be different product IDs. So a combination of order ID and product ID will always make the uniqueness in this case. So how do I do it? I click insert and all I'll do is combine or concatenate. So let's use an equal to sign, select this one, ampersand is a concatenation operator. Let's give double quotes, maybe it's a starting opening and then putting a character, then putting another ampersand and putting in product ID and entering this, double clicking it so that it goes down, and I go to conditional formatting, highlight cell rules and duplicate values, and I say OK. And I call this as a key column and I select this one. There are still duplicates because the color is indicating that, and let us check which are those. These are the guys which are causing duplications, and these are actual wrong data sets because given the business requirement, given the nature of the business, an order, same order cannot have two product IDs of the same type, right? So this is definitely a wrong entry. It needs to be taken care of. So for this order 2, 3, 4, there are 5 orders which have duplication problems. It needs to be tackled. Either you remove one record or one of the records, or you correct the numbers, whichever way it needs to be corrected, because now this is wrong. Order ID and product ID should combine to determine the uniqueness of this data set, but they are not able to do so, which means there is a genuine case of data duplication in this case. So that's it. I hope you learned about how to identify primary keys. How do you treat